Hi, welcome to Cocktail Mode, the podcast where me, Andy, and my co-host Dave, say hi Dave,
Hello.
pick a game, a classic game, retro game, whatever you want to call it, and try and pair it with a cocktail. Today's game is Midway's seminal basketball game, NBA Jam. We're going to be talking about that, some of the sequels, some of the not sequels, and a lot of other stuff besides.
And you personally attack the entirety of basketball and everyone who likes it.
And I mean, even worse, I really don't know what I'm talking about, but I still have a go at basketball. So, enjoy. I didn't realise that all those other NBA games that were NBA Jam sequels but not called NBA Jam, I didn't realise they were any good.
I don't know if they're any good. I haven't played any of them.
Apparently they're brilliant. I've not played any of them. But yeah, apparently the franchise split basically. So Acclaim got the rights to the NBA Jam name.
Oh, okay.
And were pumping out games called NBA Jam that weren't any good.
Right.
And so after Tournament Edition, there's a split. And so everything that's called NBA Jam after Tournament Edition is made by Acclaim, not Midway.
Oh, okay. So it's similar to the whole Football Manager and Championship Manager thing, where they kept the name but not the game.
Yeah.
And the game that came out with that name was shit.
Yeah.
And Football Manager carried on being what it had always been.
There were all those NBA Jam games that came out that were apparently no good at all. And then in 2010, EA acquired the license and put out NBA Jam. Or NBA Jam and NBA Jam 2010, which are basically like NBA Jam and Tournament Edition. So one is and then in 2011 the new one came out and was just a slight upgrade. And that was...
I was going to say, is the one on the 360 available to buy like over the net, or do you have to have a physical copy?
I think it's called NBA Jam 2011 or possibly NBA Jam 2010.
It's just NBA Jam. I'm looking at the list.
There was two, and the second one is not on the Wii.
Oh, the On Fire edition just looks like a roster update. Strange for EA to just put out the same game and update the players.
Yeah, slap on some paid content and away we go. But that is, I think, available on Xbox Live and on the PS3. But it may be that in the time-honoured way of these things, it's been taken down for licensing reasons, because that happens. I played the 2010 one about half hour ago, and it's really, really good. It's back to classic with a bit of a trick move in there as well. But basically back to 2-on-2, back to over the top. They make a big deal about this Tim Kritzko geezer being the announcer.
Yes, I've noticed. I never knew his name until now.
No,
but he comes and goes. So he's obviously been replaced at some point and then brought back.
Yeah, I think with the...
I would imagine he's probably an announcer or commentator.
Well, he's not.
No?
He was in Midway. Tried real announcers and they weren't any good. They were weirdly sort of lacking in energy and not really bringing anything to the party. He was just an actor, and he come in and he was doing started off doing an impression of one of the announcers, but with a bit more zhuzh, and then just sort of fell into being himself and shouting.
Fair enough.
He's a bit of an egomaniac, though. He kind of loves himself a bit.
Oh, okay.
But playing NBA Jam without the sound is just weird. It's just not right at all.
Yeah.
Which I realised. Remember when we were playing, we were talking about the music in...
Tony Hawk's,
and we were talking about the music in Skate and how we didn't remember any of the songs on the soundtrack. It's because I didn't listen to them. I used to listen to my own music playing Skate. Because the 360 had that feature where you could just load up your own music from a network and play that. So I just used to do that all the time.
Yeah, now you say it, I remember that. I used to play, what was it? Project Gotham Racer.
Yeah.
And always had my own music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember in that.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that.
PGR4 burning over the Brooklyn Bridge, or a bridge, San Francisco Bridge, or I don't know, a massive bridge on a Ducati motorbike with House of the Rising Sun playing from my playlist. Just nice. Beautiful. What a moment that was. Absolutely flying with that. It's just fantastic. But yeah, so that's why I don't remember that. But NBA Jam didn't have much music, did it? And although I'm going to get in there really early, I don't have any of the handheld versions of NBA Jam. But for some reason, all of the Game Boy versions have hideous music playing all through the game. Like constantly. There's a Game Boy Advance version of one of the Acclaim 2002, I think it was, NBA Jam 2002 on the Game Boy Advance. Is one of the worst reviewed games I've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
IGN gave it 2. You know, IGN scores go from 6 to 10. That's it. They don't normally go much lower than that.
Mm.
But it's a shame the original Game Boy versions were actually quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, NBA and Tournament Edition were both actually very playable, very good. You did have to press the start button for Turbo though, which was a bit shit.
It comes back to was it the Mega Drive and Blockout?
Yeah, exactly. I thought the same thing.
That's not what it's used for.
But yes, had a quick go on an emulator, and although it never looks, handheld games never look right on emulators. There's just something not quite right about the way you look, but it plays really well. No, it's a bit slow, but I didn't try the horrible one on the Advance, but the old Game Boy, the black and white one, the Tournament Edition in particular, plays really well.
Yeah, fair enough.
Other than having to start for Turbo. It just doesn't work.
It is an odd choice. I suppose if you only got 2 buttons and you need pass, shoot, and something else.
Yeah, quite a lot of the old Game Boy and Game Boy Color games got around that third button by pressing 2 buttons at the same time. Or a direction and a button doing different things to just a button. One of those things I love about, well, to be fair, Wikipedia and just what it offers, I mean, the internet in general, but that you go down rabbit holes, didn't you? You start looking at stuff. Like I started looking at the NBA Jam and then these other games that came out, and then the other games that came out for other sports. And they, in 2003, they released a game called Red Card, which is a soccer game, as they would call it, obviously.
Yeah.
With national teams, with the real names in, which is more than Pez ever fucking got. And it looks really good fun. Just, you know, over the top stupid arcades football, like lots of punching people. The tackles seem to nearly all be punching in the face.
What company was this?
This is Midway. So Midway sort of ran with this whole idea of NBA Jam, and they did it for, I think they did NFL Blitz, I think perhaps it was called. I think that was theirs, and they just sort of did that whole thing where they took as many sports as possible and applied the same sort of coat of paint to them.
That's like, do you remember the street games? NFL, NBA?
I do. Those are going to come up a lot today.
Yeah, they were really good.
Because it's interesting that between sort of Tournament Edition and NBA Jam 2010, the EA one, the entire Street series came out. It started and ended.
Yeah.
So it started in 2001 and ended in 2007, I think. And those are all fantastic games, all better than any of the NBA Jam sequels that I've seen and played.
Yeah.
They're just fantastic. And I think that's perhaps why I didn't know that those other games were about, because I loved Street. I mean, obviously Street was great. Volume 2 was better. Volume 3 was incredible.
I think I only played one of them. Second one, I think.
Yeah, I think the second one's a sweet spot, I think. The first one's a bit feature light, and V3 it gets a bit like they introduced a dunk contest to try and liven it up, and it didn't really work that well. So
the dunk contest as a thing has been around for a long time, because there was an entire game built around that.
Was there?
Yeah, I don't know, the Mega Drive.
Yeah.
Well, I say an entire game. It was a mode within a game.
Yeah.
I think it was like Larry Bird versus Michael Jordan or something.
Okay.
Was the actual like overall game, Bird versus Jordan or Jordan versus Bird or something. You basically had a 3-point contest, which is like the Larry Bird side of it, and a slam dunk contest, which was a weird, very, very weird, like a beat 'em up control system.
Yeah.
Where you did certain combinations, or like a rhythm action game, thinking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was quite odd.
That sounds like what similar to what was going on in NBA Street V3. But yeah, I was aware that the sort of dunk contest existed as a real thing. Mm-hmm. But there was the FIFA Street games as well, weren't there? They were fantastic. Well, they weren't fantastic. That's a lie, actually. They had fantastic soundtracks, and they had the potential to be brilliant. I think it was the second one I played a lot and was like on the cusp of being great, but it had just some really broken mechanics. Like you were supposed to be able to do tricks and that, but all the opponent had to do was foul you, and it stopped your trick dead in its tracks. And it's just the most frustrating thing in the world. You're trying to do this shit, and this guy just punches you in the face, and that's it. It's over, and it's just so frustrating.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure don't we both have NBA Playgrounds? If I remember right, you hate it.
I don't hate it. It's not quite
It's not what you want.
It's not what you want, and it's like a fucking mobile game. There's so many microtransactions and things in it. It doesn't quite come together. I played it a bit. I was playing it a bit with Bob the other day, actually.
Oh yeah,
my wife's brother.
Brother-in-law is the phrase.
That's what they call it, isn't it? Yeah, brother-in-law. They have their own name.
Brother. Fucking idiot.
So my wife's dad's son.
Cousin's roommate.
But and we were actually and just playing it like 1-on-1. It was actually a bit better. It did work, but quite good fun to play. Quite good mechanics.
Yeah,
it's not as good as NBA Jam.
That's the thing. I mean, with these sorts of games, sometimes you want something that isn't that good. So it's a bit more level. It's like you don't sit and play it outside of that social environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't sit there and think, oh, I'm really enjoying this. When he's gone, I'm going to sit and play this for 50 hours. So the next time he comes around, I'm going to be really, really, really good. And he's going to hate playing.
This is what we call doing a uni rally, isn't it?
It's such an ingrained memory of mine.
Yeah.
Just, not being very good at it. And being incredibly good at it. And you're saying, oh, let's play 2-player.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's do that. That'll be a laugh. Was it SNES only?
Yeah, it was SNES exclusive.
Never really made much of an impact as far as I can remember. I could be wrong. Did it ever get a sequel or any other games?
Nothing at all, no. No, just that was it really. And it was it's kind of, it might have even been DMA.
It is DMA.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
they had a big successful game at some point, I'm sure. I can't really think what it could have been.
No. It eludes me as well.
What was your first experience of NBA Jam?
Do you know what? I really don't remember.
No,
I don't. I think it's almost certainly the arcade.
See, I can't remember. I've played it on MAME quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because it's a really, really, really good version, obviously. But I'm not sure I ever played it in the arcades. I could be wrong, but I can't remember ever even seeing it in arcades.
I think it's one of those motorway service station games. I think that's where I'd seen it and played it, but not really taken on board. No, it didn't grab me particularly. Do you know what I mean? It didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't play it and think, oh, that's amazing. I'm gonna have it. I can't wait for that to come out on the SNES so I can play it at home. I don't remember that at all, and I think perhaps after it came out on the SNES and the Mega Drive, hearing about people having it and just, things about breaking the backboard, stuff like that, used to get your attention. It's such a simple thing. Back then, if someone said, oh, there's this basketball game and once you get 3 shots in a row, you can break the backboard, it's like, Jesus Christ, what is this wizardry?
It's not strictly true. You can only break the backboard in the 4th quarter.
Oh, can you? I forgot that.
Yeah.
But I do remember because the arcade's the only version that's got. Well, I say the only version. I've never played it on the PlayStation or the Saturn. But certainly the 16-bit versions didn't have that cool scaling effect when the players were close to the screen, did it? It was only the arcade that did that.
I think it lost quite a bit from what I've seen. To be able to compare the two, like the arcade and the home versions, the arcade version is quite significantly better.
Yes, no, I think it is, and I think it's not just that. So that scaling effect is sort of significant, but the amount of commentary is much, and the variety of commentary is vastly bigger in the arcade version. And I don't know how many of because the Easter eggs were a really big deal, weren't they? It was a really sort of what today we call viral, but that term didn't exist. It didn't, did it? But it was the viral, oh, you can play as this, you can play as that. Someone sort of heard that you could play as characters from Mortal Kombat, even though they were taken out in the testing. They never made it to any final version.
Oh, couldn't you play as George Clinton?
Yes, I think on I think on the tournament edition, on the home version, you could play as George and Hillary Clinton.
That's Bill. That's Bill Clinton.
Yeah, who's George? George Clinton is
George Clinton is a big black guy who was in the band Parliament Funkadelic.
Yes, that's him.
It's a different Clinton, mate. Very different.
A better Clinton.
Undoubtedly.
Who probably smokes his cigars other than...
Sticks them in interns.
Yeah, why wasn't Monica Lewinsky a playable character? That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, there was definitely the Clintons. I can't remember who else there was, but there were so many. It was full of Easter eggs and codes and secrets. And I think the first game, arcade game, I think, to really use that as a way of generating interest. Because I remember. I mean, it was Midway as well, but there was, what was the driving game? Cruising USA. It wasn't very good. But
I was going to say, I don't remember it at all. I know the name, that's about it.
It was a Nintendo licensed. It was really weird how it was. Midway made it, and then sort of Nintendo sort of bought it and claimed it as their own. So it was pretty sort of bright and colourful, and they brought that out, and that had like secret cars that you could select by pressing certain buttons on the vehicle select screen and things like that.
Oh, okay.
I remember that, and I remember hearing, obviously with Mortal Kombat, all the secrets and things you could do. So it just seemed to be a Midway thing that they did. I don't remember seeing or hearing about any games that weren't Midway that had that sort of thing.
I'm just looking at the list of secret characters.
Oh yeah,
on the SNES version of NBA Jam. There's a lot on there. Never heard of a lot of them.
A lot of them were developers and even friends of developers of the game.
Oh,
so
okay.
If you don't recognise some of those names, it might be them.
George Clinton is in there. Bill Clinton is in there. And Al Gore. And then a load of names that are just sort of meaningless. There's a character called Air Dog that, if I remember right, is a kid. Or at least he's very, very short.
I don't remember that.
Because I can't remember. I can remember the George Clinton one and Air Dog. They're the only characters I can remember.
Air Dog is Eric Samulski, then 9-year-old son of acclaimed vice president of product development.
Oh, there you go.
Lots and lots of developers in
Fair
there.
enough.
So yeah, I think those are those names that you don't recognise.
Yeah. So, have you ever been to a basketball match?
No.
No, me neither. Been to most other things, but I can't. There's a team in Leicester that I could go and see. I've just never thought to do it.
I hate it when people oversimplify things to slag them off, because people slag off football.
Yeah.
That's real football, soccer, by saying nothing ever happens and oversimplifying. But whenever I've tried to watch basketball, it really does feel like they could just skip to the last quarter.
Skip to the end.
Just skip to the end, because it's not like anyone's tired, because they've taken that fucking sub so often. It's not like anyone just skip to the end. It's just, I don't get it. Yeah, it is odd, and I think if basketball video games were real time with quarters at full length and all that sort of shit, they would never be anywhere near as popular. Because it's just like, for fuck's sake, am I still going? And that's what it feels to me like watching basketball. And it's like those moments, your highlights of a basketball game. Whenever I am occasionally on the BBC Sport app, it says, highlights of classic between these two teams. Those highlights are about 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
And that game goes like, how long's a basketball match without overtime?
I think it's 15 minutes a quarter.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Oh, no, it's just to make it complicated. It's 4 quarters of 12 minutes.
Oh, of course it is. With timeouts and stoppages and advert breaks and all that shit. But anyway, I don't know enough about basketball to like fully hate it. It's never grabbed me. I've always had fun playing it. I'm terrible at it, obviously, when I try to play it, because I like once every 7 years the chance to play some basketball comes around, and you remember how terrible you are at it, and no matter how often you try to replicate Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's skyhook, it don't go in. Arguably the greatest basketball player who's ever lived, so it's nice that he's people will say
that is one of the most hotly debated things in sport.
It is,
especially now, because you've got most people are saying currently that LeBron James is.
Yeah.
Anybody over 30 says Michael Jordan. Anybody a bit older than that says Wilt Chamberlain or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And then I'm sitting there watching all of this thinking, you're all wrong. It's Larry Bird. Nobody ever says Larry Bird.
I mean, that is my favourite thing about basketball is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from both Airplane and Game of Death. That's it. That's all I care about.
He was fantastic. And a really, really nice bloke, apparently, as well.
Yeah, no, he is. And he's really down to earth and really, he just seems like a very, very cool human being.
He's in an episode of Scrubs.
Is he?
Yeah.
Amazing.
For some reason, JD says to somebody who's dying that he'll get his autograph, and he fakes his autograph on something, and then they actually have somebody else goes and actually gets Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and brings him to the hospital, and he's looking at this thing that's been signed. He goes, "That's not my signature."
My name is Roger Murdoch.
I'm a pilot. Yeah, I got massively into NBA 2K22 a couple of years ago, and I started watching as I was playing it. I'd be sat watching YouTube videos or Twitch streams of basketball, so I got quite back into it fairly recently. And the TV coverage that they have in the States, they basically have Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, who you probably remember from the 90s,
yeah,
a couple of other guys. Fucking hell are they funny. The arguments and the piss taking and the physical fights they get into, they are so entertaining. It makes you look at like Lineker and Shearer and whatever guest footballer who can barely string two sentences together on Match of the Day every week, and you just think, oh Jesus Christ, this is why American sports are so much more fun. The sports aren't as much fun, but the TV coverage is
I think that's the thing, isn't it?
Brilliant.
You don't mind those people.
Yeah, it's the presentation and the show. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Did you see the documentary that was on Netflix about the
The Last Dance?
Yeah.
Yes, that was brilliant. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, really good. I struggled with the format, but the story and hearing about that was really fascinating, especially when so much of it to me is new.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of it was new because we didn't get the coverage.
No.
You might get the game back in the 90s, but it wasn't
and the names,
didn't
it? You knew the names and you knew the shoes. But you didn't know so much about what else was going on. But yeah, I thought it was fascinating. So I only had a problem with the fact that I'd rather that the way it was told across the episode, I wanted it to start at the beginning and end at the end, but it went backwards and forwards a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. So like a season by season thing.
Yeah, I'd like to see the director's cut in chronological order.
I already knew before it came out that it was going to be very Jordan-centric.
And
I've always been more interested in some of his other teammates, in particular Scottie Pippen, was I was a big fan of. And I thought, this is going to be really interesting because I don't know what their relationship was like, but I know at one point it was very, very strained.
Yeah.
So, depending on how it's filmed and how it's edited, and then as it turns out, he's not in it very much.
No.
There's probably a lot of cutting room floor stuff with Scottie Pippen saying some probably not very nice things about him.
One of the things I find fascinating about it and have found sort of picked up on since in other, I guess, not particularly straightforward ways, but anyway, it's that when you see footballers and teams of footballers playing sport, they genuinely seem to get on and understand that you need to have a relationship of sorts to get on and to win a game and to work well as a unit. You actually have to, know each other and get on. In American sports, they don't seem to give a shit. There's this fucking story at the minute about some twat on the Kansas City Chiefs who's spouted a whole load of bollocks about a woman's places in the home. It's 2020 fucking 4, mate. Get out of your box. And one of his teammates was asked about it, and he said, "Yeah, I don't really talk to him. He does what he wants." It's such a weird thing to me. I know, obviously not all 23 players on the football team are best mates, but it's that kind of, there does seem to be a very different approach to it. And that came through, I think, in The Last Dance. Those guys didn't really sort of exist. There was no sort of team bond there. It was just 5 players playing basketball well together.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Oh, 5 at a time. Bigger squad, not just 5 guys.
Obviously. Yeah.
Fucking hell, can you imagine how knackered they'd be? Can I come off? No.
Well, it wouldn't be that knackered because you can stop whenever you fucking want, can't you? And it's just walking up and down a court bouncing a ball. I do apologise to any basketball fans. I know I'm talking out of my arse. I do not claim to have a fucking clue what I'm talking about. I do apologise. But I will just say, not for me. What I did actually get into over the Olympics, that netball is an incredibly watchable sport, and not just because I'm a dirty old perv. It is a genuinely entertaining sport. It works really well.
You are, but that's
not the reason. Yeah, absolutely. It's actually really, really entertaining as a sport to watch. It works really well.
Yeah.
Which surprised the fucking life out of me.
I've never watched it. I don't know the difference between it and basketball. Is it you can't move?
Very different. Yeah, you got the ball in your hand, you can't move.
Yeah.
It's all, and that makes it's quite a difficult thing to get your head around originally, but you have to watch the players without the ball more than you used to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think certainly if you're in the UK, you know that watching football, you're constantly watching half the team. You can't. You're not watching football properly if you're only watching the keys with the ball. But
yeah, you're watching the runs alongside the wings.
Yeah, exactly. And netball's very much the same
like
thing. You have to watch everything that's going on because the person with the ball is often doing the least. So yeah, it's really gets me. And it's another thing that, like, when I started watching ice hockey, it took me ages to get used to watching that because you have to quite a lot of the time preempt what's going to happen because otherwise it moves so fast you can't like follow it, especially not on a shitty old CRT TV in standard definition. You can actually see the fucking puck.
I have very, very few good experiences of watching ice hockey on TV until the internet era.
Yeah.
When you could actually watch it in pretty high definition and slow it down. Yeah. Something would happen, you'd blink, then they'd show it in a slow motion replay. Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't see it live because, it happened faster than my eyes work. I did go to a couple of games, live games, and they are great fun.
Yeah.
It's like you say, you get to see the whole team.
Yeah.
Because you're not looking through the camera, you can kind of take it all in one go. Like your peripheral vision covers the whole court, depending on when you're, the rink, depending on where you're sitting, and you can take it in a lot better, like a live football match.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are, you will tend to watch the players nearest you most often.
Yeah.
So you kind of concentrate on the wingers if you're down one side. If you're behind the goal, you'll probably look more at the keeper than you would normally. Yeah, I'd imagine basketball's a similar thing as well, but that goes all over the place.
Yeah, but really, really slowly, so it's not hard. You keep
saying about how slow it is. Are you watching the same sport?
They just walk, get the ball, walk to the edge of the D, then pass it around a bit, and then.
Oh dear. I don't know what to say to that. You're just so wrong.
See, other than sort of the arcade basketball games, I loved NBA Jam and Tournament Edition and the Street Series. I mean, there's 4 of them. I don't know. There was one on the Xbox 360 called Home Court. I don't think it was particularly popular because no more come out. And that was really good as well. But it was kind of on that era when people started wanting serious games because, again, I'm not going to mention Gen 7. Wait, I just did. But that's exactly what happened. It was in Gen 7. So people were like, oh, I don't want arcade basketball. I want realistic. Everything has to be realistic and hard and realistic. And so, yeah, it didn't do particularly well. But it played great. It's a little bit light on features, but it played really well. Yeah. They had a court, one of the courts, because that was a thing. It was you went around different neighbourhoods and played in like backyard courts and street courts and things like that. Yeah. And one of them was in Brighton.
Really?
Yeah. And it's a court I've been on. I haven't played on, but I've walked over it. It's right on the beach in Brighton. So yeah, it's really cool. Stuff like that.
Interesting.
But it plays really well. Yeah. They had the highest scoring dunk was a triple dunk.
Okay.
So you basically the characters would dunk and then catch the ball before it hit the floor, and then dunk it again, and then catch it before it hit the floor, and then dunk it again. So like catch it in their feet and flip it over their head, or it just like the most. But I think double dunks have been done in dunk contests. So you basically dunk it into one hand and then take it out and dunk it again. I think those have actually been done.
Wow, I've never seen that.
For realsies. But yeah, this had triple dunk.
Fuck.
What?
I think this is going to be the most divisive episode we've ever recorded, because I've got the exact opposite opinion. I like the more sim-based, realistic games that you don't like. And do you know what started it? NBA 2K.
Really?
Yeah, that started to present more of a realistic feel.
It did,
and
but
I
you
really
could
liked
still
it for that. You could still do
the
stupid
fuck out
things.
of it.
Yeah, but alley-oops are a real thing.
I know, but I used to play I too, and I think this is one of these crossover things, isn't it? And interestingly that it was on the Dreamcast, which I think is kind of our nexus, really. But yeah, I loved it as well, but I loved it because it was ostensibly a serious basketball game that you could play like an arcade basketball game.
Yeah.
You could do tricks, you could do alley-oops, you could, play like that. Or the character creator was quite in-depth.
Character creator was awesome. I used to love it.
And I don't remember it being particularly restrictive on the amount of points you could dish out as well.
Oh, no, you could create absolute legends.
Yeah.
Which
from the off.
you did.
Yeah. Yeah, of course you did.
I made an entire team. Everybody was like very specifically made for one thing. So you'd have like a massive 7-foot guy who did all the dunking and rebounds.
Yeah.
Whose name was probably Dunk. There was the short, really, really fast, like pickpocket, steal it, get possession back guy.
Whose name was Thief.
I can't remember. I can't remember his name. There was a guy who was basically like the 3-point merchant. His name was probably 3 points.
3-pointy.
But it was literally that, like you're specifically created for each role on the team.
Yeah. And
it kind of trivialised the game to an extent.
Yes, and it breaks it as well, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Because it just makes it too easy. But it is fun to play around with those things. But I used to I think we mentioned this actually back in the episode. I built the Street Fighter characters, so if the only time Dhalsim's been any good for anything was in that. Just built all the Street Fighter characters as NBA characters. But yeah, that was a really good game. That was a nice sort of crossover between a serious game and having a bit of fun, because it did have a lot of sort of tricks and things going for it. Really, other than there was the NBA Jams and then the NBA Streets and then that's pretty much all the basketball games I ever played.
Yeah, I mean Street came out after 2K. Because that was a PS2,
yes.
I think, if I remember right.
There's not much in it. I think there's a couple of years in it.
There's not a lot. But
yeah, you're right. It was after it.
Yeah, so you're not allowed to talk about Street.
But yeah, I'm not allowed to talk about
NBA Street, PlayStation 2, 2001.
Yeah.
Gonna have to edit it all out.
Yeah, delete it all. Those were great games.
Describe NBA Street, because I can remember it a bit, but not particularly well.
Well, it's 3-on-3.
Right.
For starters, and it was very much about the trick.
Was it combo based? You like stringing together moves, sort of like a Tony Hawk's combo. Like one thing links into another.
Yeah, you could do that, but it's just it was built really well. I mean, I may be sort of conflating any of the first 3 games into one, but it was my favourite thing to do. Bounce the ball off the guy who's marking you's head, or girl who's marking you, onto the backboard for another guy to catch it and dunk it in.
I mean, that's a real thing, surely.
And I think it got to the point where you do that. So you do a trick to basically fuck them up. And then you bounce it off their head onto the backboard. And then the guy comes in for the alley-oop. And then he could pass it off to somebody else coming in to do the alley-oop. And I think you could even do that again. So you could break up the alley-oops before the ball went in. You could pass it off to the other one who was flying in. So you'd basically pass it off. Just incredible fun. Just so good. About as far away from realism as you could ever hope to be.
Yeah. But don't necessarily need to be realistic. I mean, NBA Jam.
Well, what are we here talking about?
Yeah, exactly. NBA Jam is the game that I probably remember the fondest out of all of these.
Yeah, and
I love 2K, but it doesn't really hold a candle to NBA Jam in terms of fun.
No. And apparently that the decision to go over the top for NBA Jam was divisive in the team.
Really?
building it. Yeah,
Okay.
they didn't. There was I think it was the one of the artists really didn't want to do it.
Huh.
To the point where he said, "I'm not going to draw it. I'm not
Wow.
going to draw the ball on fire."
You're down tools.
Yeah. So one of the other people in the team went and got the art assets from Smash TV. So apparently the fire effect on the ball in NBA Jam is from Smash TV.
Fantastic. I love it.
Which I've never played.
Smash TV, you've never played?
Yeah, never played.
Fantastic game.
One of those gaps. Yeah. One of those games that everyone loves.
Really difficult.
I watched a documentary about Midway called Insert Coin.
Oh, okay.
Lots about Mortal Kombat, obviously, lots about the early days. Eugene Jarvis started at Midway, which surprised me.
Okay. Who's Eugene Jarvis?
He is one of the great video game.
Oh, okay.
Like, he is like one of the godfathers. He's, you know, a Yu Suzuki. He did Defender.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he is one of the originals, one of the absolute gods. So he started at Midway, and then he went off to do something else, and then came back towards the end of Midway. But he's still going now, making fantastic games. He's still, the way he goes about making games just doesn't age. He's a very, very cool guy.
Did Midway used to make lots of pinball tables?
Yeah, so they bought Williams. So Williams and Midway were. Williams was where Eugene Jarvis started, and they were more of a sort of an old school, classic-y kind of a company. And that's when you see Arch Rivals, that actually came from Williams, so that was not a Midway game. So that's sort of more cartoony, nicer, more family-friendly kind of thing, even though you could punch people, but it was in a much more cartoony way. And then Midway were a bit more grungy, basically. They were a bit scrubby, they were a bit, you know, everything they did was violent and horrible. They did Narc.
Oh, yeah, I remember Narc.
Game. So Narc, where you're blowing people up and limbs are flying off. That was very much their vibe. Okay. NBA Jam wasn't, was it? It wasn't as much as you could push people over. It wasn't...
More violent than real basketball games.
But you weren't punching people's hearts out and things, were you?
Not quite.
Not quite. And I think some of the other games, I think the NFL Blitz games that they did, I think it was Blitz, might have been Hits, they got properly violent again as well. But
I can see why you might sort of start to think, well, you know, we've had boring, normal, basic versions of basketball and they've been moderately successful. Let's have a go at making a stupid one where you fight, because that approach has been applied to a lot of games in the past. Yeah,
it's been around for donkeys, hasn't it? I mean, I remember football games and boxing games were back on the 8-bits, not even the 8-bits, on the Spectrum. There was a boxing game, wasn't there?
There's a great boxing game called By Fair Means or Foul.
Fair Means or Foul, yeah.
Where you have to, but you can punch people in the nuts.
Yeah, the ref is shown, isn't he? And he looks away and you can try and sneak a hit in while he's looking. Yep. But yeah, the concept has been around for a long, long time.
Yeah, there's one of my favourite football games, arcade football games, is a game called Football Champ.
Yes.
And that has you can throw punches and things. There's a sliding tackle, which is like a proper tackle.
It goes for a mile.
And then a foul tackle when you're defending. You can either punch them in the face. If you're running behind them, you grab their shirt and pull them back.
Yeah.
And if you're a fair distance away, you do like a flying knee to the face that makes the gap proud.
That must have been a contemporary of NBA Jam. It must have been.
It would have been around the same time, because I remember playing Football Champ in the Zap Zone, which is we established, opened in like 92, 93.
Yeah. So
yeah, it would have been around about the same sort of time.
Yeah, 92. So also called European Football Champ and Hat-Trick Hero, apparently. Yes. So yeah, I mean, it came out in 90, but we wouldn't have seen it till a couple of years after that, would we?
No, definitely.
That kind of fits.
Looking back on it, it's probably Euro Football Champ that I played anyway.
Who was your favourite team on NBA Jam?
Ooh, good question. We played this a little bit the other day, didn't we? Online. And I'm pretty sure my favourite team on the normal version of NBA Jam is Orlando Magic.
Oh, right.
Because they have one player who's really, really good at dunking and one player who's really, really good at three-pointers.
Yeah.
So you only dunk with the guy who's good at dunking and you only attempt three-pointers with the other guy. I cannot remember either of their names, because they're not players that I knew at the time, so it never really stuck. I think the short guy's called Styles. That's it. But I was a big, and kind of always have been, a big Chicago Bulls fan.
Right.
So I would quite often play as the Bulls, just because it was Scottie Pippen rather than Jordan.
See, I always played as the Knicks.
Mm-hmm. Patrick Ewing
and Charles Oakley.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, the things you remember.
See, I was watching basketball when this came out, so I knew the majority of the players, and I had a favourite team that I followed, so it was very much the Bulls for me.
Apparently, Utah Jazz was the best team in the original game.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I ever picked the Utah Jazz. Ever. But apparently they were the best team in the original game.
I always had quite a soft spot for the LA Lakers, basically because of the Fletch link.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You ever seen the Fletch films?
I remember that I have seen them. I remember entirely nothing about them.
Yeah, there's a dream sequence he has where he's playing for them.
Yeah, the Lakers were the glamour team, weren't they? They were another team that you heard about outside of basketball. Like the Bulls you heard outside of the sport and outside of, and the Lakers were the other team that you heard about.
Which is interesting because up until the Bulls' dominance in the 90s, the team that were undisputed, like constant every year winning, were the Boston Celtics.
Really?
Unless you're an actual fan of basketball, I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who knows the name.
Yeah, no, you might be right.
And yet when I was first starting to watch basketball, when Larry Bird was still playing and they were still the best team out there.
No. Celtics or Celtics?
Celtics.
Did you know there's a Super Furry Animals song called If I'm a Celt, You're a Sunt?
I like it. That's good.
Yeah. Do you remember when we used to play NBA Jam?
Yes. Is that it?
Is it a traumatic memory?
No, I love it. There is something I want to ask you that I've always wanted to ask you that I couldn't believe you could still remember how to fucking do. How do you steal when someone's in midair, like going for a dunk? I've never figured it out.
It's just a turbo block, but I think it's stat related.
Okay.
And I think it's got to be...
You used to do it all the time and it annoyed the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's timing based. So it's got to be it tends to be sort of as they're about to dunk it, it's got to be fairly close to the rim as well.
Right, okay.
It's just one of those things that, you just learn how to do and just do. And again, when we had a quick game the other day, it was just muscle memory. I couldn't tell you how I did it or what I did in particular. It just happened.
It's like doing a fireball in Street Fighter. It's just ingrained.
Yeah, there's no way to stop it. It just, you play stuff. What I couldn't remember how to do, which I remember used to infuriate you back in the days, there is no layup in NBA Jam. Not layup.
Alley-oop.
Alley-oop. And I used to do a kind of alley-oop where I would just punt down, I think it was a shot rather than a pass.
Oh, so you get your teammate to shoot.
Yeah, and then jump up and basically catch it. And you didn't dunk it. It would never dunk it, but it would lay it up at close range, so it would go in. So you do like a full court shot and then just jump up and catch it and lay it in.
Nice.
But I couldn't. I played it a bit, and when we were playing, I couldn't make it happen. So I don't know what black magic I was pulling in the day. That was one of my favourite things to do.
Yeah.
And I think when games are as simple as NBA Jam is, it does lend itself to stuff like that, doesn't it? You do have to build sort of the meta game yourself. You have to be creative with what little you're given. Because there's no sort of handling tricks either, is there?
I found, and I found it when we were playing it the other day, it's more about the sort of positioning.
Yeah.
So running past people, stopping and changing direction quick, which always seemed to be the big thing. And
it's one of those things that it really comes alive. And again, it's true of almost every sports game, really. It really comes alive in multiplayer.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Never played a 4-player match of NBA Jam in all my days.
Really?
Yeah, I've never done it.
Yeah, I don't think I have, actually. Come to think about it. Could you do it on the SNES?
Yeah, I think if you had a multi-tap, you could, yeah.
Arcade was very famous for it. I'd love to have played it.
I don't know whether how the SNES version ranked next to the Mega Drive version. I doubt there was much in it.
I don't think there's a lot of difference, but I think the controller worked better for the SNES because you had the back buttons.
Yeah.
For your sprint.
That would make sense. Yeah, for Turbo, that fits better on that button, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It always works like that. Yeah, that's a fair point. Because we played it
exclusively on the SNES.
I don't think we ever played it in an arcade together, did we? I don't remember ever playing it in an arcade. But I played it for just days and days on the SNES.
Yeah.
Just endlessly. Absolutely loved it.
I'd love to see, we've said this before, I'd love to see playtime of all your old games. and what you've put the most into over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Basketball in video games is what you want basketball to be. Sorry, what I want basketball to be. I don't want to cast this onto anybody else because there are purists out there who will adore the sport. Because you do see highlights of basketball games and it just looks incredible. You'll see, somebody do a behind the back bounce pass alley-oop and you'll just go, that's the fucking tits. But that happens like once across 100 games.
Yeah.
It's like someone doing a nutmeg and then lobbing the keeper in a football match. It looks fantastic, but it happens like once in a blue moon. But that's what NBA Jam is. That's what NBA Street is. That's what these games are. They bring that over the top showmanship that is what you want, what you think you're going to get when you watch a basketball game for the first time, and bring it to life and put you in control of it, which is always going to be better than watching 10 guys walk up and down a bit of school gym.
I'm going to ask you a question now.
Yeah.
Right. Have you ever sat and watched a football match?
Yes.
A 90-minute football match?
Oh, many, many times, yeah.
And for 88 minutes of that thought, well, that was all bullshit. Why don't we just have the bit where we scored?
No.
Because that's basically what you're applying to basketball.
Well,
you're saying that the only interesting part of it is the highlight reels of the amazing stuff. So you would break down a football match of over double the time length of a basketball match and say, well, why don't we just have, the bit where we scored?
It doesn't really apply, does it?
It kind of does.
What's the most common score in a football match, a 90-minute football match?
0-0.
2-1. Statistically, 2-1 is the most scored scoreline in a football match.
Yeah.
What's the average scoreline in a basketball match?
I don't know, 100 all or something.
So what's the fucking point in anything other than...
Well, what's the point in any sport ever? By that same way of thinking, why do we bother with anything then?
Well, to me, the difference is again, it comes down to the structures, isn't it? And I think American football is the same. When you can stop so often, and when the pace is generally slow, the physical part of the sport is minimalised, right?
Yeah, but if you go into the game knowing that and accepting of that, and that's what you like, then that's not an issue. I think your main issue with American sports is the stop-start element of it.
Yes.
They've become that because they're massively catering for TV.
Yes.
Whereas our sports don't so much.
Let's not go down this too much, because I genuinely, if you are American, you'll be upset by anything I say, please don't take me too seriously. I am just being a bit of a twat. But do you know what the average playtime is? The average active playtime is in a 1 hour game of American football. NFL.
It's probably about a third of the time, so 20 minutes.
Apparently the stats say 13 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
And so you think that from an hour you get 30 minutes. In what we call football, it's over 60 is the average. They're trying to get it up. I think it's about 65 minutes of active play in a football match. And I think you're right. I think that's where I've grown up watching sports where you're constantly doing things. But yes, anyway, let's not just sit here slagging off American sports. British sports are shit as well. Cricket is an absolutely fucking diabolical thing. Have you seen this new sport? It's basically like 2-on-2 football played on a table tennis table.
Tech ball.
Tech ball.
I was in a pub earlier today and an advert for it came on TV and there was a table of old blokes next to me. And at the same time that my mind started to form the question, one of them went, "What the fuck is that?" I mean, what's next? Pro Quidditch? And yet, no one's ever made rollerball.
I mean, what's the cycling thing that's got a motorbike? The Kirin, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Which is,
that's a pace setter though, isn't it?
No, you can grab onto the back of the fucker and get a bit of a lift.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a pace.
I've never understood it, but I think the name Kirin means the fight, so it gets a bit. Yeah. I don't understand it, but I remember seeing it, just thinking, I mean, really, this what's going on again? There's a motorbike.
There's a motorbike. Where's Jonathan E?
Yeah.
I just want rollerball. I just want a game of rollerball.
Somebody must have tried, surely.
I don't know. I think there's an old arcade version which was shite.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking like 1982 arcade game. But yeah, no one's ever really given it a go.
That's crazy, isn't it? Because it
is.
Because speedball is kind of the goal is the same, isn't it? You jam it into the hole like in rollerball.
Yeah, speedball's probably the closest thing to it, but that's basically handball.
So was speedball good or bad? Because I've heard both.
Are you talking about speedball or speedball 2? The first one's not bad. The second one is phenomenal.
Oh, okay.
Like you can buy star players or you can level up your guys. But if you level up your guys, they end up at a higher level than all of these star players. The overall potential of the team as a whole is dictated by the average of the team. So it's really good. It's well worth a go. Well, if you've never played it, pick it up. Definitely.
Guess what I've got it on?
Mega Drive.
The Nintendo Game Boy Advance.
Oh, should have guessed. Actually, it probably plays quite well.
I think I've got that. I've got 4 games in a bundle at a really great price. And it was, I think, a couple of the other ones that I wanted, but I saw that and thought, do you know what? Why not? And I've never played it, obviously, because, you know, who plays games? You just buy them, right? I've just did a little Googling. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple of games. There is an old C64 game called Rocket Ball.
Oh, okay.
Which is very similar to Rollerball. No bikes. It's pretty basic. And then there's a game called Killer Ball, released in 1991 for the Amiga.
Oh, okay.
Which looks very cool. Looks very much like Rollerball, that's for sure. Both of the games are missing Rollerball's bike men.
Yeah.
But Killer Ball looks like it might be worth a look.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, if anyone listening hasn't watched Rollerball, what are you doing with your life? That's the second best film released in 1975.
Ooh, Jaws?
Jaws, yeah.
I'm quite pleased with that. NBA Jam Tournament Edition.
Yes.
Have you played much of that?
No.
No, I don't think I ever have.
No, it's weird, isn't it? Because, and maybe it came down to the whole price of video games thing, because NBA Jam was 60 quid.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So that's 60 quid in 93. So 93, I would have been about 20.
Yeah.
Did that work out?
No, 18.
No, 18. So I wouldn't have been in work. Wouldn't have had a proper job yet.
Well, you went to college or something? Did A-levels and college?
Yeah, I did A-levels and sort of a day college thing so I could come back and do it for a year and then went back to my A-levels. So I wasn't in work. So 60 quid. Inflation adjusted. Let's have a little internet, shall we? Let's have a little internet and find out what that is. 1993. Yeah, doubled. £124.
Jesus.
So that's like, going into a shop now and paying £124 for a game.
Yeah.
And then a year later, a new version of it comes out with just... you're not going to bother, are you?
No. If you've saved up and bought that first one, you're not buying the iteration.
Absolutely. No, that's crazy. But so I think that's probably what happened. I don't think there's any doubt that Tournament Edition is probably the better game. So, it's got updated rosters, you can choose more than 2 players, all these things. It's all on paper a better game, but having paid 60 quid for NBA Jam, and I remember I definitely did buy it new as well.
Yeah.
No way in the world.
We didn't really have pre-owned games back then, did you? Shops certainly didn't do pre-owned. You might buy it off a mate.
Yeah, that was a thing. And there was a couple of independent shops where you could buy second-hand games. I remember there was one in Bedford.
Software Plus, do you remember that one?
No, I do remember Software Plus, but I don't think you get pre-owned there.
I used to hang around in their early PlayStation era and just play games. And I remember, because I got to know the guy in there quite well, and we sat and played a Star Wars game, like Rogue Squadron or something, and literally over the course of like 2 hours finished it.
Oh, really?
And we both sort of looked at each other, and I just said to him, well, I'm not paying for that now. Anyway, he went, if anybody comes in and asks if it's worth buying, I'm saying yes.
I don't know, my favourite story from the documentary was when they were pitching for the license. They went to the NBA and said, we want to make a basketball game, can we have the license?
Yeah.
And the NBA said, fuck no. Because basically they were kind of, where they were based, they knew of the video game arcades in Times Square at the time, not Times Square as it is now, which was basically like Mr. Pool. Do you know what I mean? Like arcades. They were like that. And so the NBA were like, no, we are not attaching our license. So the guy who captured the video for the company as a general sort of thing for the games, and because they'd done, like Narc was video capture and they'd done it before, so their video guy went off around these family game centres all around the country and just shot video, and so they sent that to the NBA, and it changed their mind. They said, yeah, actually,
brilliant,
go for it, and that's how they got the license. And without the license, I don't think the game would have been anywhere near it. I mean, Arch Rivals was practically the same game, and that was nowhere near as successful.
No, it's difficult to just sort of think back to a time when licenses weren't applied to games.
It's one of those things that I think I'm probably in the minority here. Certainly, even if I'm not now at this ripe old age, as a kid, it never bothered me. I couldn't give a shit whether something had an official license or not.
If it was a better game, it was a better game. It didn't matter.
I genuinely can, but it clearly makes a difference to somebody, a lot of people.
I would say that it makes a lot of difference to parents buying a game.
Oh.
If you're looking at a generic football game that is just called football game, or Pele's football game.
Interestingly, that did remind me that the games that Midway made, the NBA Jam sequels that weren't official NBA Jam sequels that are supposed to be very good. At least one of them is on the Dreamcast.
I did notice that.
Which means I will be buying that. Because Hoops. I think it was Hoops.
Hoops.
Yeah, with a Z, because it was the 90s or 2000s. It was that era where every S was a Z. Or a Z, if you're so inclined.
That also came out on the Game Boy Color, mate.
If you look at that list, there are 3 games in a row that came out on the Game Boy Color, right?
NBA Showtime, NBA Hoops, NBA Jam 99.
Identical.
Are they?
Yeah, and I'm saying this by looking at videos of them. I don't have them, but they look identical and they look terrible as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, won't be rushing out to try those. I think if I ever see the original NBA Jam on the Game Boy, I'll probably pick that, or Tournament Edition on the Game Boy. They look pretty cool, so I'll probably pick them up. But yeah, those Game Boy Color versions look shocking.
So here's an interesting one. In 1996, Next Generation listed the NBA Jam series as number 99 on its top 100 games of all time. Do you agree with that? Would you say it's in the top 100 games of all time? 100
is a lot, right? And if you were to list out your 100 best games, favorite games, or if you just started listing out your favorite games, what are the best games ever made? The games that come to your mind, right? Write them down. I think you would stop before you got to 100.
Maybe.
And I think even if you didn't, if you wrote out like 120 games, you'd go back and look over it and you'd go, do you know what? Boogie Wings is notably better than X, something else. By the way, people, if you've not played Boogie Wings, go and play Boogie Wings. Also known as the Great Ragtime Show, you might find it. It's a MAME ROM. You can't play it anywhere else. But you'll go back and you go, you know, that's actually not quite a greatest ever game. That's just a really, really, really good game.
Yeah.
I think every game that we've done so far would probably fit into my top 100 of all time. Did you ever get around to thinking of a cocktail for this game?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I found one. I've actually found 4.
4?
Which one I pick?
Well, I think I found 2. So go through them all.
Oh, okay.
Go through them all.
Well, they're all just pun names.
Obviously.
More than anything.
Yeah.
The first one is the Buzzer Beater.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Yeah.
I like it already.
The second one is the Slam Dunk.
All right.
The third one is called Nothing But Net.
Nice.
And the fourth one is called Alley Oop.
Very cool.
Now, as Alley Oop isn't actually in NBA Jam, I can't really use that one.
No,
that would be more an NBA 2K cocktail.
Yes, fair point.
So I went for the Nothing But Net.
Talk to me about it.
I don't want it. I'll tell you that straight away. I don't want to drink it because it's whiskey based with orange juice in it.
Whiskey and orange are beautiful together, mate.
No, they're not. I don't like it. So yeah, it's the Nothing But Net. It's 1.5 ounces of Jack Daniels, French, surely.
Whatever.
Yeah, half an ounce of Monin French vanilla syrup, 2 ounces of orange juice, an ounce and a half of lemon and lime soda, so Sprite, effectively.
Yeah, or 7-Up.
Shake all but the soda, strain into a Collins glass of ice, top with soda, garnish with an orange slice. So I thought pun-wise that was pretty good, nothing but that.
Yeah.
I wanted Swish, because that's the actual commentary in the game.
Yeah.
But Nothing But Net was good.
He does Nothing But Net, doesn't he?
I don't think so. It's from Downtown, Swish. I don't remember hearing Nothing But Net.
Oh, I think I'm remembering Nothing But Net from the Simpsons episode.
Oh, okay.
Where it's delivered like completely flat. So, Nothing But Net. So yeah, I think that's what I'm remembering that from.
Brilliant.
And so yeah, yet again a cocktail that you're not going to drink.
Yes, cocktail I haven't drunk and will not drink. One of these days. One of these days. We'll get something that I have already had and know is really, really nice. Yeah, just not today.
Well, I must admit that I am not a million miles away from you on this.
Good.
I'm gonna choose a cocktail that I can't tell you the ingredients of, and I can't tell you how to make.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So the cocktail I'm choosing is called the My Tiki, and that's my MY Tiki TIKI.
Okay.
And so this is a cocktail that I've had. And it's a cocktail that they serve at the bar. There's a place in Brighton called My Hotel, which is a hotel. It's quite a nice hotel. And their bar is called Merkaba, is underneath it. And I went there with some, what are they called, contractors when I was working for the water company.
Oh, yeah.
I was working with these contractors, and contractors basically get everything. Basically, part of their job is to win more business, so they can expense everything that involves. If they take you out, they can put whatever they buy on expenses because they are entertaining a potential customer.
Yeah.
So we went to Merkaba and had a lot of cocktails and a lot of drinks. And one of these drinks was the My Tiki, which is a cocktail that, as I say, I can't tell you what's in it. It's quite likely to be brandy, I would imagine, because the main thing about this cocktail is they clear the bar, they make all the customers stand away, and then they set fire to the drink and the bar while they're serving it. And
He's
then,
on fire!
Yeah, and then throw stuff at it so it like sparks and looks really cool.
It sounds like a health and safety nightmare.
Yeah, so
Good.
yeah, it's great fun. It was brilliant. It was such a great night. And yeah, as you just alluded to, He's on Fire is what made me think of that. Absolutely. And it was great. And you know, it's I think one of the funniest things about it was that it was such a faff to do, because we got it when the bar was quite busy, so they had to keep clearing people away. It wasn't just that they cleared people away, it's just that by the time they started setting everything up, other people turned up and it was just fuck off, get out. And they, you know, set fire to the bar, did all the thing. Everyone's taking pictures and videos and all this shit. I've probably still got a video of it on my phone, to be honest with you. I might put it on YouTube and link it.
I was going to say, it makes a great social media, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's what they're... But it was such a faff that they forgot to charge us for it. All this shit, 2 shots of this drink, and I think, if I remember right as well, it was quite a nice drink after all that too. But yeah, it was brilliant fun. But yeah, there's all sorts of flaming drinks, like flaming sambuca shots is a thing, and all that sort of stuff. So that's what I was looking for, and then I just remembered that was a thing that happened. But I can't tell you what's in it. But there is a flaming slammer, which was another thing I was thinking about doing, because, you know, slammer, slam dunk and all that sort of stuff. And it's that's the one, if you've ever seen it done, where you put your hand on top of the glass to extinguish the flame.
Oh yeah.
And it's just a shot of brandy, shot of ouzo, and a shot of sambuca or rum. So and I imagine it's done with, in most cheap bars, with whatever cheap burny spirit they've got that they can flog to whoever's pissed up enough to burn their hand. But it's you put your hand on top of it to put the flame out, and then you bang it on the table like a tequila slammer, and then down it. But it's not a cocktail. And the My Tiki from Macabre, my hotel in Brighton. There are my hotels around the country which might do the same thing. I did look on their website trying to look for a recipe and couldn't find one.
Oh, okay.
What's in the other cocktails you were talking about?
So I went for the Nothing But Net, but there are 3 others on this website which could have easily been a choice. The first of which is the Buzzer Beater, which is Jack Daniels, pineapple juice, orange juice, and Coca Royale. The Slam Dunk, which was Jack Daniels, Coca-Cola, passion fruit puree, and a small dill stem. It's the most useless fucking thing I've ever seen in a cocktail. And the last one was the Alley-Oop, which would work really, really well for NBA 2K, but not so much NBA Jam because the Alley-Oop's not in the game.
No.
But that's Jack Daniels, strawberry puree, then lemon juice, and lemon and lime soda. Just, they look great, but I just don't like whiskey and fruit.
What was the second to last one with passion fruit?
That's the Slam Dunk. 1.5 ounces of Jack Daniels, 3 ounces of Coke, half an ounce of passion fruit puree, and a small dill stem.
That sounds nice. That sounds like it might be up my street. I like passion fruit.
Not overly keen on Coke in a cocktail, but I'd give them all a go. Like I said before, if you just put it in front of me and said, try that, I might like it. It's just the whole idea of whiskey and fruit. Just I've had them before and I know I'm not keen. So it could just be that the ones I've had haven't been good.
Well, they're even lemon.
Yeah, I've had very, very few whiskey-based cocktails.
Right.
Because I avoid them. I'm not the biggest whiskey drinker anyway. So to see a cocktail with whiskey and then fruit, just kind of turn my nose up and pick something else.
Any particular spirits you do like?
I love tequila.
Yeah.
Always a fan of tequila. Rum, I like rum.
Blanco or Reposado? Either.
Yeah, any kind of rum. Really like tequila. Any vodka. Well, vodka's basically just alcohol, isn't it? It's not really a spirit. Yeah. Like I said, I will try. I will try a lot of things. I tend to avoid things that I know I probably might not like.
Yeah. No,
I've intentionally had with cocktails that I ended up absolutely despising. Like, I've never had a Bloody Mary.
Have you not?
Well, recently we were in a cocktail bar in Leicester, and I think I sent you the menu for it. It's the one that does all the theatrical things, like the Ghostbusters trap for their Slimer cocktail. And they had I can't remember what the theme of it was or what the drink was called. The waitress, when I ordered it, went, "Have you ever had a Bloody Mary before?" I was like, "No." So okay, because it's quite similar. It's got like Tabasco sauce in it.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, yeah, well, I'll give it a go, see what it's like." Fucking horrible. But I drank it. Yeah, I paid for it. I'm fucking drinking it. But yeah, the experience wasn't pleasant. But now I know. Now I won't have a Bloody Mary because I know that Tabasco sauce in a drink is fucking wrong.
They are fabulous for hangovers.
Well, that's why they're invented.
Yes, absolutely. There is in the 1920s there was a sort of a subset of cocktails that were called breakfast cocktails, which I fucking love. I just the 20s. I should have been about in the 20s. That should have been my time. I should have been there. Damn it.
Yeah.
But yes, breakfast cocktails. I once woke up with a hangover and really craving fruit juice and not having any in the house, so I just had some more cider instead.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I've never really believed in the whole hair of the dog thing.
No, well, it only works because it gets you drunk again, and then you then forget that you're hungover.
Do we want to think about what we're going to do next?
We should do, shouldn't we? It's your turn to choose.
It is my turn. I hadn't put any prior thought into it.
Do you know what you also need to do as soon as you choose? Is start thinking about the cocktail that you're going to choose to go with it.
Well, in that case, I'm going to choose Resident Evil 2.
The zombie is a delicious cocktail.
I love a zombie. It's right up my street.
It is right up your street.
Yeah. We haven't had an out-and-out Mega Drive game yet.
That's true.
So I'm going to go for Toe Jam and Earl.
Ooh.
Because I don't think you've ever actually played Toe Jam and Earl, have you?
I have not ever played Toe Jam and Earl, no.
Well, I'm sure you can get it if you haven't already.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I don't think I have it.
No?
But no, I'd have to emulate anyway because my Mega Drive, my Mega Drives are in the loft. So I'll have to emulate that. But yeah, Toe Jam and Earl, it's something I've always meant to give a look at. So yeah, it's a good one.